Welcome to Scouting for Growth. Today, I'm joined by Nathan Stack. Nathan is an award-winning leader in the B Corp community and the founder and CEO of Profitable Purpose Consulting, a culture and impact consultancy that helps companies certify as B corporations. He also founded and chairs today B Local Georgia, a nonprofit dedicated to growing the number of purpose-driven businesses. Nathan teaches as well an experiential MBA course on B Corps at the University of Georgia, and he serves on the board of B Academics, a nonprofit committed to research and experiential B Corp learning opportunities worldwide. As of March 2023, the latest available data indicates that there are over 6,400 certified B corporations in over 159 industries and 88 countries worldwide. The number of certified B Corps have steadily increased, actually, over the years, with the largest growing numbers that we expect is in the United States. 48 of all B Corps are publicly traded companies, and B Corp employs 500,000 workers worldwide. On this episode of Scouting for Growth, Nathan and I will discuss why Nathan decided to focus his attention on B Corps. And then we will talk about what does B Corp mean and why does B Corp movement matters. What does it take to become a B Corp? I want to know as well. And what is the ROI? What can be achieved actually as ROI when one becomes a B Corp? If you enjoy listening to this podcast, do not forget to subscribe to it, rate it, and provide a comment here below. If there's a topic you feel needs addressing, just send me a message using the communication channel available as well below. So let's welcome Nathan. Hi, Nathan. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. Always excited to come on, talk B Corps and everything in between.
Yes. So, to get started, I would love for you to tell us a little bit more about you and what got you to focus on B Corp. I think it's a big topic nowadays. And, when was the moment of realization that would be your purpose and path for the future, Nathan?
Yeah. So I'll go short story. We'll reference my book later. People want the full 2-hour story, but I mean, I've always worked in business, and I knew I wanted to do business when I was in high school. I was 16, 17 years old and writing papers about international business, and I got an international business degree, and I worked and I did all kinds of weird jobs, and moved out to Las Vegas, moved back, and 2012 everything was pretty good and career was going well, and it was January 2nd of 2013 I got laid off, and then went to the people that kind of put us out of business, worked for them, got laid off again, so 2 layoffs in 6 months, and then just kind of had some jobs that weren't purpose-filled. We'll just say that, since if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. So we'll just leave it at that. And then just kind of was trying to figure out what I'm going to do next. And I ended up applying to MBA programs because I was in my early 30s, and I'm it's time for the reset button that is an MBA. So I was doing that, but in the meantime, I've kind of had these jobs where I burned out on capitalism. I saw the ugly sides of business, and I was reading Thomas Piketty's Capital in the 21st Century, and at this point was my eye-opener too, because I had a year to kill before my MBA program started. So I was driving an Uber, and I was bartending and doing setup shifts at a convention center for $8 an hour, and I saw all these people that were also driving Uber, working 2 or 3 of these either gig jobs or part-time jobs, no benefits, trying to raise families, trying to provide better for that generation behind and there's nothing, there's no hope. There was, for me, I saw that I was going to go to grad school, but it was a really eye-opening moment that this is what we've let kind of our capitalist society become, that we look so much at its profit and everything like that, and yeah, we have to make money as business owners, but I started to see the side of like greed as well. And so I get into an MBA program, and my second semester I got introduced to a B Corp project, and I'm like, this is the boom, like this is it, like this, like the sky opened, the like the angels were singing, and I realized I'd found my business community, that these were still people who believed in capitalism, who believed in business. They just believed in using business as a force for good in society. So I worked on that project. The semester was ending, and I went to the CEO and I was like, hey man, can we keep working on this? We still have another year after our summer internships. And he was like, please, it will probably die on the vine without your help. So I kept working on it. And then long story short, like I got an offer. I went to work for that company, and I was there for 6 years. And that's when I really, got involved in the B Corp community. I started a nonprofit. I started a call for other people in the B Corp community, the B Culture Call. I started playing B Corp conferences. I started attending, big national and international B Corp conferences. And so like, but it was that kind of finding that project at the right moment in my life, of realizing like it isn't necessarily capitalism that is evil, it's what we've let it become. And realizing that there's this whole community of business leaders and business owners and change makers that are trying to change the world through business. And so that's where I am today. And it's been a fun journey. And I think sometimes it's, we talked about the book, but I share a lot more failures. So I think it's fun to share. It's fun to see where you've come from and what you faced and kind of how you overcame it. And that a lot of times it's those moments that unlock the opportunity to find that happiness, to find your purpose in life. So that's me in a nutshell.
Yeah, I mean, so important, right? I think a lot of us, when we are younger, we fall into jobs, into careers potentially. And then as you develop your skill set and refine them, at some point, I think you have the haha moment and realize it's not just about working like dogs, right? It's about finding purpose so that every day you wake up, you're actually enjoying what you do. And actually, you wrote a book, right? Happy Monday. Can you let us, can you tell us a little bit more about what got you to write Happy Monday?
Ah, telling people that I was writing a book. That's the ultimate motivator. We're like, oh man, it's kind of like when you make a commitment public and you're like, well, I guess I need to write this book. It started, I was reflecting on an airplane, still sitting at the gate, and I was flying on a vacation, and I realized this is the first vacation I'd taken in like 5 years, without my laptop, without and I thought about all the things that I had done to get there, and even some of the really long hours and long weeks, and even at the job at a B Corp, like I loved them, but what they needed me to do wasn't necessarily the B Corp stuff. That was addition, like all the hard work I'd put into that, and then also slowly helping them grow and using a bunch of these old skill sets, and helping them grow and get to the point where we hired somebody to replace me from the work that I was doing. And I was focused full time on culture and impact and all the things that we as a B Corp cared about. And I was like, oh my God, I don't have my computer. Like, oh my God, I'm really, really happy. And I started journaling, like literally sitting at the gate. I just started writing because I think my brain was also conditioned to work at airports. So I was like, I don't have a computer, I can't work. So I started writing, and I wrote like 3 or 4 pages of content and it kept coming back to the old Jim Rohn quote, learn to work harder on yourself than you do on your job. And I realized that like that had been what had gotten me here, was living that quote that I first heard probably at age 25, that I had invested so much in myself, and like long hours, late nights, early mornings, things that I didn't necessarily I didn't get paid for them, but I paid in time, I paid in equity, tears, sweat, everything, like, but they were an investment in myself that was finally, I was starting to see the rewards. So I wrote that, and then I was like, my God, this is a book. And I had a friend that had a friend that was a ghostwriter who honestly helped me, but I'm also a really good writer. So like they would give me the chapter And I'd be like, all right, I'll send it back by the end of the week, and I would rewrite the entire thing because I was so worried that I was like, this has to sound like me. My voice is so unique in the sense that it's I'm very, I don't want to say self-effacing because everybody's like, you have to, exude confidence. I'm like, yeah, but I think it's authentic when you're yourself. And like, I make fun of myself, and I love talking about like stupid things I've done in my life and jobs that I took and times where I just failed miserably and tried to stretch outside of my comfort zone and not well. So I like had to give it that touch of like, I didn't want it to be like every other business book where it's like, I'm the most successful human being ever born. It was like, I'm just like you. I've had a bunch of jobs I didn't like. Welcome to your 20s. And here's how to hopefully come out of all of that prepared for, well, originally I was going to call the book When Opportunity Knocks, because I felt like that's what it was. It was, as you get to this point, like when the opportunity was there, I had put myself in a position to be ready for it and to be ready to get to a point where like I joke like Happy Monday comes from the term. I tell people that I like Mondays so much that I start working on Sunday because I'm just like I'm excited. The work I do is so impactful and so meaningful that now I love the long hours. I love like everything I'm doing brings joy to me. Like even if it's just staying up, like, oh, I promised to connect John to Mary, and but knowing that John and Mary are going to do some beautiful collaboration together at some point, like that to me is it's joyous. So yeah, that's where the book came from. I think if anything too, for maybe hoping that you reach somebody who was me in my early 30s, who was kind of depressed and kind of couldn't get over that success hurdle. Like I kept getting to a certain point and I couldn't get over it. And so hoping that somebody out there is in a similar situation, even if like one person read that book, that helped them go like, oh, it's going to get better. And oh, like I just haven't found it yet. I need to keep working. I need to keep giving 100%. And like good things will come to me. I hope that it reached somebody in that capacity.
Yeah, I can hear karma, but also I can hear, at the end, my belief is, you build credibility through authenticity. And so, being honest with who you are and where you are always yield outstanding outcomes, I think. And today, more and more people want to surround themselves with authentic people. Me working with startups, and today, I guess, is not the greatest day. You've heard the announcement around the bank. We have to be on the phone and check on the startup we are working with to make sure everybody is okay. The UK is all right, but we still don't have news on other markets. And so we are keeping on checking in authentically just to make sure that those organizations we care for are being able to take care of themselves and sustain themselves. But that takes me, Nathan, to what is B Corp? Tell us, what is that?
Yeah, no, and I'm glad you brought up SVB too, because I think it's important, and like I've already seen the finger pointing happen. Not necessarily the finger pointing, but I've seen people like, oh, well, they failed because they were like too woke, or they failed because they had like a DEI committee, and I'm like, this is it happened, but it doesn't mean that this whole movement, of which B Corps are probably a centering point. It doesn't negate everything, just because like one bad thing, it's like, I mean, I can point to plenty of other, you know, uh, let's just say things on the other end of the capitalism spectrum that are 100-fold worse. Doesn't mean that it also condemns every business on that end. So anyway, I just thought I'd say that. B Corps. Yeah, B Corps are to businesses, for-profit businesses, because there's always that misconception that you have to be a nonprofit if you're going to care about more than money. B Corps are for-profit businesses with a certification that is a lot like LEED to a building. So like, some outside party, I think it's the Green Business Council, comes in and looks at your building and looks at the materials that went into it and the natural light and all that. I don't know the full aspects of LEED certification. B Corp is very similar in that there's an outside nonprofit that comes in and looks at your business holistically. How transparent are you? It looks at corporate governance. It looks at your workers. What kind of benefits do you offer? What's the pay multiplier from top paid employee to bottom paid employee? um, what sort of leave do you offer for parents, for caregivers? It looks at your community impact. So everything from pro bono services or goods to volunteerism to DEI initiatives and not just initiatives, not just like having a policy, but like progress towards initiatives. It looks at your environmental footprint and what are you doing to decrease your carbon footprint, and what are you doing? Are you offsetting what you do? Have you looked upstream at your supply chain? Are there better ways to get more things locally? And then lastly, it looks at your customers. So, what kind of policies do you have in place to protect your customers? What sort of, how transparent are you with your customers? If you're using their data for other things, are you telling them? Are you telling them what you're collecting data for? Are you basically treating them like human beings? So it looks at those 5 different sections of the business, and then you have to get to a score of 80. And I think a lot of times it'd be like, even if it was like that, it would be cool. That's great, certified. But with B Lab, it's almost, they kind of do the, oh, that's great, now prove it. And then you have to go through a whole verification process of essentially, that's why I was late to this call today. I was working on one for somebody of like, now we're going through and it's like, okay, we have all the answers, and now I need to pull all of the documentation and upload it and say, this is on page 8 of the handbook. And, and put together the spreadsheet with every volunteer hour we worked last year and where was it and what was the nonprofit, those types of things where you can't just say like, oh, we have a strong commitment to the community. Oh, well, that's good enough. No, it isn't good enough. At least not to get certified. And I think not with this generation, which is really what's driving all of this, is you're starting to see, as soon as Gen Z showed up, Gen Z and millennials found their voices and kind of got together to say like, business as usual isn't working. It's not working for everybody. And you can say the word that's become a dirty word over here, but woke. But really it's just that like this next generation is kind of fed up with like, why aren't things more equitable? Why have we allowed status quo to continue when status quo doesn't work? And how do we leverage the business community to solve some of society's biggest problems? I heard somebody say that one time, entrepreneurs are uniquely positioned to solve the biggest issues in society. We always have, and I came up, maybe he used the analogy, I don't remember. It was a friend of mine in London, and he said, think about it. At some point, somebody sliced bread. Like at some point, there was an entrepreneur that went like, this is really hard. You need to like pull off a clunk of bread. Like, what if we sliced it? You could make sandwiches a lot easier. And people would probably rather buy the sliced bread than the unsliced bread. Like, but you think about that on a bigger scheme of like, you think of a Grayston Bakery, which is a certified B Corp. They switched to open hiring, where they were like, what if we could help people who maybe were incarcerated or homeless, who have gaps on their resume? What if we didn't even ask for a resume? Could we start to solve some of these things? We've created mechanisms to keep these people kind of where they're at and never give them that second opportunity. So you see these things come out of the B Corp community where it's like unique solutions to society's most pressing issues. And so I think that's the beauty of the whole movement. It's just that these businesses have come together to kind of say, I don't say enough is enough, but enough is enough. And let's just be leaders. Let's be true business leaders and do the hard things the right way.
Interesting, because I was talking to a lady last week who is leading the head of talent and people recruitment in one of the top Fortune 500 company. And we're catching up last week, and she was saying to me that she was challenging as well similar things as you were highlighting. Why do we need 10, 7, 8 years of experience on a CV? What is that proving? Why are we asking individuals to have sometimes industry knowledge, partly when we want problem solvers? And so she has been taking out a lot of those things which were built by industries to actually focus on people competencies and strengths. And she said she's been able to bring diversity, so the numbers, but also inclusion, how you treat people in the organization, and build a much more diverse workforce, which, you know, the leadership team didn't think it would work, but it is working, and they are able to deliver much stronger numbers, actually. So echoing what you are just saying, Nathan. But why do the B Corp movement matters? And can you tell us what the difference between company which is B Corp and then maybe focusing, you already mentioned sustainability driver, ESGs, vis-a-vis, the former CSR programs we saw in corporations?
Yeah, I mean, I think why the movement matters is there needs to be some sort of gold standard, and I think nowadays, and this comes back to my question of like, what's the ROI on my certifying my business? Nowadays you see, and to me, it's a symbol that this is working. Again, coming back to the whole anti-woke thing that's happening over here, that's only going to get worse in an election cycle. This isn't, and somebody, Mark McNeese, who teaches at Florida State University in the entrepreneurship program, he had an op-ed published recently, said, ESG isn't woke capitalism. It is simply capitalism. And it's true. Like the free market is what controls the levers. The free market is employees, consumers. It's you, it's me. We control capitalism with what we buy. So our demand for goods and services and companies who are going to buy them from dictates pricing. It dictates what gets produced. It dictates distribution. So the fact that you see every company now realizing that I have to have a commitment to the environment, I have to have a commitment to DEI principles and actually diversifying our company and making diverse hires feel included. Every company knows that they have to have some sort of community impact, exist for a greater good. So you're seeing this in every commercial, and some of them are like such desperate attempts to appear that they're getting it. And the tough part, I think, is that a lot of the consumers, well, not the tough part, the good part is a lot of these consumers are smarter. There's more research available. There's more, Google, Ecosia, B Corp search engine. There's more research readily available for us to look up, like, hey, I want to see their annual impact report. I want to see what they actually did. I want to read their About Us page and see if it just says like, hey, we care about the environment. And there's no like, we care about the environment and here's how, boom, 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 quantifiable data set. Like when it's just these vague things, it's like, it's proving at least that the demand curve has shifted. But it's harder and harder, I think, for businesses that are doing good to break through. So if it's B Corp provides that opportunity, that vessel to say like, hey, our impact has been vetted and approved and verified. So I think why the movement matters is I think it is holding businesses accountable, and it is giving a measurement for other businesses to strive for. I think it is a good tool, and that it forces companies, and it's a free tool. Like anybody who's curious as a business owner that's listening to this, like you can go to bimpactassessment.net and just sign up and take it, and just see where you're at. Nobody's gonna, you're not gonna, you're not basically like some salesperson. Like most things, you're like, oh, it's a free tool, download it, and we're gonna use your data and spam you, and our sales team will be calling your cell phone at 3 times a day. No, there's not. Literally, it's a free assessment. It's run by a nonprofit. There's no business development. Your data is not being used nefariously. But you can set that up and just see, like, how's my business doing? Like those things that I say I care about. And I've been through this with business owners at my old company. Like where those moments where things you thought you cared about as a business owner, where your intentions were there, you suddenly realize that like your impact isn't. Like, okay, well, we care about diversity. Oh my God, look at our numbers. Or we care about the community. And you're like, okay, how many hours did your company volunteer last year? And you're like, I have no idea. Oh, so you just put up that we care about the community because you do a volunteer event once a year? Like, being able to like actually sit and go through and look at these things and go like, we don't have any of these policies in our handbook. Are you telling me that like really good company. Like this is standard for a lot of companies. So I think that exercise is super powerful. And then I think the certification gives B Corps, the ones that are certified, an opportunity to break through the noise that is the marketing machine today, where everybody again has that commitment to everything, whether it means. And so you're going up, especially as a smaller medium sized business, like you're going up against some big budget marketing PR firms, content writers that are like they can put lipstick on a pig, as we say over here, and make something look really good. So if
Yeah.
you're doing good, to me, it's getting that recognition you deserve as a good slash, I would argue, great company.
Yeah, great corporate citizen or great company. I mean, it's interesting because I think some organization would say, I'm doing great things. I am sending books to underserved group of the community. So that I'm doing volunteering, but actually it's more than just doing once a year, right? Or, massaging the numbers so that it might look good, but you are actually paying yourself very well, and then whatever you are leaving behind is actually crumbles rather than real impact. And I think that's important. You actually highlighted already earlier, you mentioned the Gen Zs and the millennials. How do we use B Corp in a way to attract and retain talent? How have you seen companies do that?
Oh yeah. Yes, I get students email me all the time. Like, is your consulting company hiring? I'm like, I just started a year and a half ago. But I there's it. I'll share a quick story from my old company because it was funny. We started recruiting right out of undergrad, for the Elevate program. And full disclosure, like I'm still really good friends with the old CEO. Like he helped me launch my business. They are a client of mine now. Like I love the company. I would still be there if I hadn't created opportunity for myself to go do my own thing. So what I will say though is like when we created that Elevate program, we started recruiting from undergraduate programs, and it was crazy to hear. We realized after like the first year on campus, like, oh, we need to put this B Corp thing out. Because the first thing they would come up to us at the career fair and say would be like, I saw in your company that you're a B Corp. And then like whoever the recruiter was that was actually working, I would usually be there because our recruiting team was kind of small. And so I would go with them and they'd be like, talk to Nathan. Like, so, but it was crazy how the interest level, and even on we started doing a new hire survey of like what was one of the reasons you came to work for us, and it was B Corp would be ranked super high. But then it was funny because you got to orientation and I would kick it off. I was always the first session, and I would ask, okay, so who knows what it means to be a B Corp? Like what goes into it? And like you get like one person to be like, I'm guessing that we're gonna volunteer a lot. And you're like, okay, so you that's one big piece of it. But like it's kind of like I joked earlier, I don't know what goes into lead. I don't know that most people know everything that it is to be a B Corp and what goes through that certification process. I mean, there's a reason that there's consulting companies like mine that literally exist to help people certify, but everybody like this generation knows about it. And if you start really boiling down the brands, it's Athleta, it's Patagonia, it's Tom's of Maine, it's Warby Parker, it's Allbirds, it's brands that like they all love and are super passionate about supporting and shopping from. And they all know, they all recognize that logo. So again, it's like the recruitment piece, it is the differentiator of all differentiators. Because again, if you're an employee or a prospective employee and you're looking at companies, everybody's About Us page kind of reads the same now. Everybody's I mean, even now you see a lot more companies have like a DEI page, our stance on diversity, and it's not even their own people, it's the same clip art from that that every company has, where I'm like, do these people work at every company on the internet? Like it's the same stock photo, and one person's in a wheelchair, and one person, and it's like the United, what was the United Colors of Benetton back in the day? Like that's what it reminds me of. And I'm like, and then you go to a B Corp page, and chances are you're going to see real employees. Chances are that like you're going to see the B Corp logo. You're going to see actual, here's what we do, here's how we actually care. You're not just going to see the fluff that you see everywhere else. So I mean, from a differentiation standpoint, it is invaluable. And then I think there's something in the B Corp ethos that once you come to work for a B Corp, um it is very hard to want to leave because you have that different style of business management, and it's not the, well, we've always done it this way, so just deal with it. There's a lot more of that kind of that natural transparency, that natural wanting to improve. And I think also I see it with a lot of B Corp business owners, the humility.
Yeah.
So as an employee, I see a humility in my business owner that he or she isn't the like the the know-it-all, like I'm the most successful person ever as an entrepreneur. Like this is kind of a like, I don't know, we've never tried that. Well, want to help us kind of figure that out. There's a lot more of that in the B Corp space. And again, these aren't just little like mom and pop companies either. There's plenty of those, which is great because a lot of people in the world end up working at small companies, but there's also a lot of, Nespresso, Danone, like there's some big companies now, multinationals, publicly traded, App Harvest, Lemonade, that are out there and in the B Corp community. So I think there's the opportunity across the gamut.
That's
Um,
that's
yeah, that is attracting that next generation of worker who's looking for more than just empty commitments. It's looking for a place to call home.
But when you look at startups, Nathan, what about investors? Do investors check those things? Does it matter for investors to be B Corp certified?
Oh, I love this question. I feel like there's a good number of advisors in the startup space that still, they read some article on B Corps in 2013 and they're still oh, that you'll never raise capital. You'll never raise capital. And I always tell, and Techstars is a B Corp, but I've spoken to Techstars cohorts in Alabama and Georgia, and virtually I've spoken to different accelerators. I've advised accelerators. I always remind them, you just haven't met the right investor. If that's what they're telling you, if they're only focused on your growth, well, you don't necessarily, if you're desperate enough, you might need their capital, but you don't want their capital because they're not going to embrace the company for what it is and why you started it. There's a place and a time for that model of VC money. And it's scale, exit, it's the same principle, but there's also VCs out there who are looking for mission-driven companies. And yes, they want their return. Let's not pretend like, oh, they're just out there to change the world. They're gonna risk their money. They're gonna want return, but they're also much more willing to work with a company who's also about purpose and about mission and about a society. You have a lot of social entrepreneurs now that are literally trying to solve a societal issue. That there are VCs out there. If you look up VCs just in North America on the B Corp directory, there's 30 different companies that come up. So there's traditional venture capital firms. There's folks like Big Path Capital that helps companies exit with their purpose intact. It's a certified B Corp. So there's plenty of those investors out in the world. I think it just comes down to the entrepreneur of, do your due diligence. Do you want this person's money? Do their values align with yours? You should be dating them as much as or doing your due diligence as much as they are with you. But yeah, I think for the true impact investor, they are out there and they are looking for your company, and they are not scared away by the fact that you're going to, do some sort of like, Tom Shoe's mission to give away, X percentage of your revenues and invest it back into community investments. Because a true impact investor will understand the ROI on that and realize that it gets people like me to own a bunch of Tom Shoes. It gets that next generation of talent that you want to hire to want to work for you. That those aren't necessarily expense items on your P&L. Those are actually investments in recruitment, retention, and customer acquisition. So the right investor knows and will be a great business partner for you, but do
It's
your due
hard
diligence.
sometimes, right, Nathan? But you're right. At the end of the day, investors should be smart investors. Startup need to look for investors who are going to be there when the time get rough. And so being able to do both side due diligence, I think is, as you said, crucial. Should not just be about the money. I'd like to actually get into some level of conclusion, actually, Nathan, and go back into, what is behind the ROI. Can you tell us, what are the type of ROI a B Corp company can achieve by being B Corp?
Yeah, and I thank you. I love this question. I have a TEDx that's coming out, and I say in it that I'm an unapologetic capitalist. I believe in risk being returned with reward. That there is an inherent value that the marketplace returns. If your service or your product is needed, people will buy it. People will pay. If it's great, people will pay more for it. So I love the question because I think sometimes we get too caught up in the ideals of B Corp, and that's all people hear, and it sounds kind of like some sort of campfire. We're out in the mountains. So anyway, I think it's an important question. Like, let's lean into the fact that these are for-profit businesses that, no margin, no mission, no profit, no purpose. Like, to scale our impact, to scale our mission, we can scale our revenue and we can grow as a business. And then that allows us to do even more good in the world. It allows us to give raises and pay increases and bonuses and all these things. So anyway, that's my soapbox on the importance of, we still have to, and we have to make hard decisions as B Corp. Sometimes we have to do layoffs. Sometimes we have to, do hiring freezes. Sometimes we have to, maybe we can't afford this year to get pay increases. Like, there are those things that we have to, as business owners, make those hard decisions. But I think from an ROI standpoint, and talking about these things is there is, and I made the analogy earlier, but I'll make it again, that there is a misconception that investing in benefits, investing in time off, investing in community volunteer efforts, investing in carbon footprint reduction, that all these things, like on a P&L, that they have to go to the expense side. That these are all, and we're trained that way. Like, okay, benefits cost money; those are just sunk costs. Like, that's just the cost of doing business. That, and like, nowadays, I think that they are a lot more, at least in the B Corp space, they're viewed as investments in the ROI. Those things are, you will get return on increasing those benefits, on having a better parental leave policy, on a true commitment to what we're going to do in the community and the change we're going to enact through both our company time and our company product. So there's a return from that aspect in both employee recruitment, retention, which we've talked about, customer acquisition, customer lifetime value, CLV, or whatever we'll call it, customer happiness, net promoter score. Those companies, and I use the example, and I'll use it again here because my TEDx isn't out yet, so I can't send you there to watch it. But I talk about, like, my love of Tom Shoes, my love of Cafe Campesino coffee, my love of Grayston Bakery when I have to send thank you gifts. These brands that, like, they paid me nothing to stand on a TEDx stage and rave about them. But I do because those are it is important for me to know where my dollar is going and who I'm spending it with. And so when I can spend dollars with B Corps, I inherently will. So Tom Shoes, knowing that I think it's 33% of their revenue gets reinvested into community investments. I know buying their shoes, my dollar, 33 cents out of every dollar I spend with them is being reinvested locally. The other 67% is helping them build their business. So I use that just to say, like, I am not alone in the way I purchase things, and the way I make decisions. And even when one of those students reaches out to me, like, are you hiring? No, but I know this B Corp that is. And so, and hearing and talking to these students and teaching an MBA class on this subject, I see it every day. So it's one of those questions that, can I give you a percentage of ROI, which I've gotten asked that before. What percent, how much does your sales funnel, like, increase once you certified? I'm like, there's too many variables. All I know is what my old boss used to say all the time, because we had grown from like 8 employees when we certified to like 100 and something. And he was like, all I know is it hasn't been bad for business. Like but it helped us. I mean, and we could give anecdotes and examples of and I did already, of employees wanting to work for us because we're a B Corp, and customers getting sales calls because the B Corp thing piqued somebody's interest on the corporate side. I went, what? I'm just kind of curious to learn more about that and how it fits into the business. And we're trying to spend more dollars with mission driven companies. So it was like, oh, cool. We got our meeting, which any salesperson will tell you is all you want. Just give me the meeting and I'll do the rest. So yeah, but there is an inherent ROI on doing good business, and it's because the demand curve has shifted. So all these businesses are just trying to chase the demand curves like the carrot on the stick, and everybody's chasing it. And I think B Corps are at least level with the carrot. So
Yeah.
we're sitting there getting that, realizing that there is an opportunity to sell more and be a more attractive candidate, i.e., spend less on recruiting talent and retaining it. So that was a long-winded answer, but I love that
That's
question.
good. No, that's good. I guess for me, I mean, you've touched upon so many different things. But during the course of our conversation, I heard it's definitely help you for attracting talent and retaining it. So, if you can actually maybe take and make saving of 100% on your employee acquisition cost, or even around, people leaving, so you have to recruit again. This is value. I think you also mentioned improving reputation, being able to be seen by other businesses as a reliable partner because you care on your people and your community, your shareholders. But I think what I can also hear from what you highlight is, at the end of the day, you can access funding, you can access financing. Some organization will look for that, and you can get financing from investors, but you can also get financing from corporations as well, right? And then it's a way to yield competitive advantage. So my last question to you, Nathan, if you look at Nathan when he was 10, what would you tell him when he would look at you right now?
Let's use Nathan at 15.
Okay.
Because that's when I wrote my paper on that I was going to be an international businessman. I was gonna what was I? I was gonna summer in Berlin and winter in Boston, or I don't remember what it was. It was some sort of, anyway. That was the paper I wrote, and I think I would say to him that, like, hey, you're gonna get there, because I usually share that story in the book of, like, the first job I got, at dispatch trucks, like that. To anybody, I think, entering the workforce, it's that, like, just keep investing in yourself, keep working hard, never give up that belief that you can do it, and always strive towards those goals. I mean, it's funny now, I actually have a client in Germany who I'm helping through the B Corp certification. And I think about it, and we had dinner in Germany when I was over there, and I think about,
That's
like,
cool.
all those years, like, I still have my German flashcards. I never let my German fade. Like, I've kept my German up to speed, like all those things. And so it's kind of cool. Like, and all this stuff, like all the time I spent investing in B Corp knowledge. But even the first job I got came from stuff that I picked up working at, like, Enterprise Rent-A-Car, and they needed operations management. And here I came from where everything is KPI and this and that. And so, like, I would tell my old self, just, like, whatever situation you're in, do the best job you can do, learn as much as you can possibly learn, invest in yourself outside of work, and, like, it's gonna happen. You just have to trust the process. You just have to trust, if you follow that formula, it might be, and for some people it might be at 28, for some people it might be at 45. For me, it happened in my mid 30s. And but little 15-year-old Nathan, you're now officially an international businessman with your one client in Germany.
I love it. You made it to Germany, and you're an international businessman. And actually, education and learning, I think all of us, we can't stop, right? We have to be continuous learners. That's the only way we can differentiate long term. I don't think we have any other way to actually meet the need of the future, drive resiliency for ourselves and our family and connections around us. So where can we find you, Nathan? I will look forward for you to send me the link to the TEDx. But apart from that, until I get the link, where can we find you?
So, and hopefully it's in the approval process right now. So as long as Ted, whoever behind the green curtain at TED, deems it worthy, It'll be coming out soon. But for me, my social media of choice is LinkedIn. That would be my other advice for 15-year-old Nathan. When this thing called LinkedIn comes out, get on it. So linkedin.com/Nathan A. Stuck. And then company is profitablepurposeconsulting.com. I make it, there's the test. You have to be able to spell that. So, and
BBC.
then, yeah, and then I'm also on, I mean, I guess I also run Be Local Georgia. So both Profitable Purpose Consulting, my for-profit, and Be Local Georgia, my nonprofit, are both on LinkedIn. Just if you just search them, you'll find them. But if you want to follow me, connect with me. Always happy to have conversations about B Corp. So don't be a stranger, and I mean it.
Yeah. Thank you, Nathan, for giving me some of your time today. We have a nice, conversation, which I hope the corporation I work with and the startups as well I engage with will be curious about how that can impact their business for the better. So thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you for the opportunity to talk B Corps, and thank you for having me on.
Pleasure it ours. If you like this podcast, subscribe now, share with your friends, and if you enjoyed it, please give it a 5-star review. Also, if you want to cover any specific subject with me, contact me on Instagram under Sabine VdL Officials or LinkedIn under Sabine VdL. Thank you.